Welcome to What the Ref, our attempt to demystify everyone's favorite research assessment exercise. I'm Michael.
I'm Lyndsey.
And I'm Ola.
And today we are here to talk about all things Hidden Ref competition. The competition is now in full swing. Lyndsey is anxiously checking our submission portal every day to see what's coming in. And we thought it would be a good moment to address a question we've been getting from a few people who want to know why they should submit to the Hidden Ref competition. We thought that was an excellent question. After all, it's time, thought, and effort to submit something. So why would you put that time, thought, and effort, particularly in the middle of the summer, to do something like this? We've got some excellent people here to talk to us about that, both Lyndsey and Ola, but we've also been able to get some past winners to come along and tell us a little bit about their experience. So you'll hear from them in just a sec. But before we get started, Lyndsey, for those people who might be joining us for the first time, can you just give them a quick rundown of what the competition actually is?
I do hope we have some newcomers that are hearing about this for the first time. And the first thing to talk to is to say that, yes, I anxiously check how many submissions we've got, but very excitedly, because I think it's going to be a bit chaotic this year. We've got more submissions at this stage of the game than we've had before, which is exciting, nerve-wracking, and possibly a bit chaotic, but let's see. So the Hidden Ref competition celebrates all research outputs, everyone involved in their creation, which is basically everything that we do at the Hidden Ref. The competition itself recognises a range of outputs that are not traditionally submitted to the main ref, and also the people who work in a range of roles that are vital to that research but are overlooked by traditional research organisations. So this is the third time that we're running the competition. We have 27 different categories this year. We have the ever popular hidden role category, where we have currently a list of 10 roles, but there's also an option for you to add a new one that we don't yet know about. I'm excited to see some of those. And then the other 26 categories are a mixture of the not traditionally submitted outputs from main ref, and then other categories that we have added over the years directly from hearing from you guys in our community.
That's fantastic. Very exciting to hear about all the possible options people have to submit to the competition. But I feel like sometimes when we say sort of research outputs, people might be like, well, what do you mean? And I think obviously the categories give some guidance. But Ola, you've been kind of digging around occasionally in some of the competition data. Do any submissions stand out to you in terms of like what people can submit, what we're excited to see?
I think they're all really incredible, and the competition just gives you that opportunity to submit something that you think is a little bit left field and something that just doesn't fit into the existing framework, and something that, I think we've got Professor Jenni Davies today. We're really delighted to hear the interview with him and his grapple with the recognition of data sets and the kind of tension between, shall I write an article and hope that and know that I'll have 10 reads, or shall I, have a database that has 40,000 users? So I think they're all really amazing examples of how to fit something into an existing framework, and how often that is very difficult, and the competition giving you a chance to forget about all those rules and forget about all these restrictions that are placed on people who produce research. And they're all sorts of different people, including the hidden roles that are under-recognized. So it's an incredible richness of contributions that we should celebrate. So we've got 3 interviewees today. And are they roughly from the previous competition or from the first one? Maybe you remember the history of that better than me.
Yeah, we've got folks from both the 2021 and the 2024 competition. So covering, as Lyndsey said, the range of previous ones. We got a chance to talk to 3 people about their experience with the competition, what they liked about it, why they found it valuable. And they also happen to be winners, so they get to talk a little bit about why it's exciting to win the competition as well. Although they all say that winning isn't the most important thing. I'll leave you guys to decide whether or not that's actually the case.
Spoiler alert, Michael.
But I think we recognized we're a little biased. We obviously think the competition is a great thing. But so in talking to some of our former winners, we thought it was a really nice way to bring in some perspectives from outside the team and to hear from people who've been through the experience of being in the competition, what it's like, what they got out of it, and hopefully why they would recommend that other people do it as well. And the first person we're going to hear from today is Jenni Adams. She's a research associate at the University of Sheffield, and she was one of our hidden role winners in 2024. And as you guys have mentioned, that's our category that recognizes people who make research possible, but who are often doing that behind the scenes and not getting recognized. I had the chance to chat with her about her experience getting nominated and what came from her 2024 win. And I'll let Jenni pick it up from there. Hi, Jenni. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're so excited to have you on the podcast and to get to hear a little bit more about your experience with the Hidden Ref competition.
Thank you for having me. I'm really happy to talk to you about it.
Yeah. So I'm wondering if you could just introduce yourself for our listeners. Tell me a little bit about your role and the kind of research you support.
Yeah. So my current role is a research associate on a project that's about open research for the arts, humanities and social sciences. But I actually received the Hidden Ref Award for my previous role, which was as an open research manager in the university library at the University of Sheffield. And that was quite a varied role that involved kind of trying to facilitate open research at my institution and raise awareness among staff and research students as well. So it involved things like designing and delivering training for different groups, devising new events that we could hold in order to kind of foster community building, but also kind of sharing information, sharing good practice around open research. We ran competitions, things like around fair data and software and around open research itself, so that researchers could really be recognised for the good practice that they were doing. And also that then helped us to raise awareness. And I led projects aimed at specific things. So things like fair data across the disciplines, how we could kind of develop nuance in those kind of guidelines around making data findable, accessible, interoperable and reusable. That were actually tailored to what researchers in different parts of the institution needed and the different kinds of methodologies that they were using. So it was quite a varied role that had a number of different aspects to it, and really involved supporting researchers across a range of disciplines and research types, but with the specific focus of making their research more open.
Very cool. I love the idea that you have gotten nominated for a competition about recognizing good practice for a job that involves recognizing people for good practice. That feels somehow very appropriate.
It's very meta.
Yes. And I'm curious, so you got nominated for the Hidden Role Award, which recognizes people who are doing the kind of work that you're doing, a bit hidden, but really crucial for supporting research. How did you find out that someone had nominated you?
It was a really amazing surprise, actually. So I was nominated for this award by a colleague from another part of the same institution. He was not someone I was working with all the time, but we were part of kind of shared communities around digital research practice support. And yeah, my colleagues, he and his team, it was Rob Chisholm in the research software engineering team here at Sheffield. He and his team checked in with me just before they submitted the application or nomination, just to check that I was happy for them to do that. And I was so pleasantly surprised and touched, because it was such a thoughtful thing to do, to look and see a colleague at your university who could benefit from being, I guess, recognised for the work that they're doing. So yeah, I was absolutely delighted to be nominated, but at no point did I think that I had any chance of winning this award. So then to actually win the award, when they read my name out in the meeting, I was so shocked and surprised. So yeah, it was a really nice surprise, but not something I was anticipating or looking to put myself forward for at all.
Oh, that's so fantastic to hear. It's like so lovely to hear that it wasn't even someone you necessarily thought would be putting you forward, but that they just came out and they were like, this has been so useful for me.
Yeah, it was really lovely. And it showed that the work that we were trying to do in terms of raising awareness of open practices, it was obviously having an impact within our institution. So, yeah, that was really nice.
Fantastic. And did winning the award have any impact on your work or on the recognition that you and your team were getting within the institution?
It's really hard to say because I think that role itself at an institutional level, it was quite visible already in the sense of organizing events and I guess liaising with people across the institution about what they're doing and things like that. I would say that there are perhaps others in my team whose work was less visible, that hopefully it might have gathered a little bit more visibility for the team as a whole. But it was definitely something that, for me personally, I was really proud of. I'm really proud to put it on my ORCID record, put it on my CV when I was applying for the role that I'm in currently. And it was just a lovely thing to be recognised for.
Phenomenal. And if I remember correctly, I think we sent out little certificates last time to our winners. Do you have yours up anywhere special?
I don't have the certificate on the wall. I have limited wall space, but I have the award on the little table next to my television. And it seems very appropriate that it's it's a slightly hidden award because it's transparent and it's for a kind of hidden role. So yeah, I have the award out.
Oh, that's fantastic. And yeah, very, very appropriate. A semi-hidden role hidden award for hidden roles.
Yeah.
And as we're in the competition now and trying to encourage people to submit and participate, would you encourage folks to submit their work, nominate colleagues, or nominate themselves for this round of the competition?
Yeah, absolutely. I think particularly to nominate a colleague, it's a really thoughtful thing to do. It's a way of kind of recognising that you see that person maybe has gone above and beyond in what they've done and has had a real impact in supporting research at whatever kind of level or in whatever kind of context. And I think it's a nice thing, in not just as an individual thing, but to recognise a kind of sphere of work, such as, in my team, scholarly communications and all the support that that is able to offer to researchers. So absolutely, I would encourage anybody to either apply for it or to nominate a colleague.
Yeah, no, I love that idea of it's sort of a really nice way of paying forward other people's good work and being able to recognize colleagues is such an important part of the Hidden Ref generally, but being able to take an opportunity to use the competition to do that is really phenomenal.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a nice mechanism. We don't always have those kind of mechanisms of, we have plenty of complaint mechanisms in life, but less that is to do with kind of just saying, yeah, I appreciate that you did that. So yeah, it's really nice.
Yeah. That feels like a great endorsement for the competition, an anti-complaint mechanism.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today. It's been great to get back in touch and hear a little bit more about how the competition has played a role in your work. So thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us today.
Thank you. And I look forward to seeing what comes out of this year's competition.
It was great to get to hear a bit of Jenni's experience. I really enjoy how excited she was to be nominated. It kind of reminds you that there's not always a chance to go to one of your colleagues and say, you do great work. Can I celebrate that? But that one of the things the competition really lets you do is say, hi, I appreciate you. Can I do something to recognize you? Which I think is really wonderful. I was wondering what you guys thought of Jenni's perspective and her experience with the competition.
Yeah, I love the fact that Jenni was surprised that, just pleasantly surprised that someone else has kind of recognised her and went out of their way to write something. And then the additional surprise that she wasn't expecting, which she should have, was to win that as well. But something that you said when you were interviewing Michael, which I fully agree with, is about loving the fact that Jenni's nomination to the competition was to recognise her good practice of recognising other people's for their good practice. It's funny, but it's just, so important. I'm sure there's plenty of verbal recognition that Jenni and people in similar roles receive, but to be recognised in this kind of more formal way is nice and definitely deserved. And she was very modest about that. And I love the fact that she made sure to mention that whilst that nomination was made just for her and her role, she felt that it actually recognised a kind of larger sphere of the work of the team and other people doing similar work to herself as herself.
Yeah, and I really loved how she emphasized that the practice of being recognized and put forward to a competition like this is on its own already like a great accolade. And because, you can, if there's no official or formal recognition of something, and you just, tap your colleague on the shoulder and say, that's a great job, thank you that you're doing this, we see you, we appreciate you. But that always ends up kind of only internally acknowledged. And to have something externally recognized on a national level just brings you that extra layer of appreciation that no matter how careful and, warm and kind the internal recognition is, it just doesn't give you that kind of platform. And I think the act of recognizing and putting someone forward, it doesn't matter, whether they win or not, ultimately is such a lovely thing to do, and well-deserved for a team working so hard on open access and everything to do with that practice.
Yeah. Although I think it is nice that she pointed out, if you win, you do get an actual award. And I thought it was so delightful that she has that award out next to her TV. It's something she gets to see every day. So I think it's important to clarify, it is a competition. We do give out awards, which I know for some people is the motivation they need to get involved.
She mentioned was translucent or transparent. What was it, glass, or what was it made of?
I was trying to remember. I ordered. Did I order the things? It was either Simon or I. That's can tell how Lyndsey's memory is doing. Yeah, I was desperately trying to remember what those looked like, but it came back to me. Yeah, and there were glass with the kind of information.
I love the symbolism of it, that it's hiding in plain sight on the shelf.
I don't think that was on purpose, and I believe we then changed the design for the following year, mostly for sustainability reasons.
Well, I think I like that we can pretend that it was on purpose. You guys were making a really deeply informed aesthetic choice about the design. So we've got some more interviews. So our next one is from Jamie Davies, who Ola mentioned earlier. He's a professor at the University of Edinburgh and was one of the winners in our 2021 competition for applications of research. And it was to recognize him and his team doing the work to maintain this large database, which has 40,000 users and is kind of a key piece of pharmacological information for the global community. We got to talk to him, and he mentioned one of the things we've already talked about, which is being able to thank your team as part of the process. But he also shared that the Hidden Ref win helped them secure additional funding and support for their work. So let's hear what he has to say about that. Welcome to What the Ref.
Thank you very much.
So before we jump in, I'm just wondering if you could introduce yourself to our audience and tell me a little bit about your role and the kind of research you conduct.
Okay, so I'm Professor of Experimental Anatomy at the University of Edinburgh. I've got a lab role which is around discovering how organs form during development, but my lab also runs an international database on behalf of IUPHA, which is the International Union of Basic and Clinical Pharmacology, and British Pharmacological Society. And this is the world's main database around drugs and their effects. It's called Guide to Pharmacology. It's run by a group from my lab, and that's something which we entered for the Hidden Ref competition.
Fantastic. And given the kind of other things we see in the competition, I can probably take a few guesses as to why that database was the thing you guys thought to submit. I'm curious how you found out about the competition, or what kind of encouraged you to submit that database.
Yes, so the competition, to be honest, I can't remember exactly how I found out. I know it was word of mouth, but I don't remember whom. For the database, at the time that we entered the ref, databases were not really admissible for consideration in the main ref. And we always felt that was annoying because we knew that work had a global impact, and it seemed really strange that I could enter a paper which would be read by about 10 people and something which has got 40,000 users a year, many of whom use it many times, we couldn't. And that just felt strange. So when I heard about the Hidden Ref, I thought, right, I would like to enter this, whether it's a competition or not. It's a way of showcasing what we do.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really lovely for our team to hear, because we run it as a competition in part because that's an easy way to get people excited. But I think we're always hoping that people would be excited to do it if it wasn't a competition.
Yeah.
I'm curious, when you guys put together your submission, were there other people on the team who were involved in putting that together? Was it kind of a collaborative thing, or did someone kind of pick something up and just run with it?
I put the submission together, but the whole thing started with our tramping off to a good coffee shop, caffeinating ourselves, good pharmacology there, and generally discussing the whole thing. And then, although I put it together, the team were absolutely fabulous in helping me, as they always are. It's a great team. And one of the reasons I wanted to do this was a way, I suppose it's a sort of thank you to the team. Whether or not we got anywhere in the competition, the fact that I wanted to enter it was a clear indication to them that I felt they were world class and that I wanted to be able to talk about their work and to showcase their work. And so part of this is a way of thanking your own team and expressing your confidence in them.
Yeah, I think that's a really lovely way of thinking about sort of some of the benefits of participating in the competition. I know we've had other people who've spoken similarly about how being able to talk with their team about the work they're doing when they were putting together the submission was almost as valuable as winning. Not that winning isn't nice as well, but that the process is about as important as the actual results. I'm curious then, sort of after the competition, did you guys see any impact on your work from the recognition? My sense is in your field, if 40,000 people are using the database a year, that a hidden ref win isn't necessarily changing the game among pharmacologists.
Well, it changed the game in a big way for us in several respects. So the immediate one, which was just a boost rather than a game change, was I think it did make the team, it had a tremendous impact on team morale. Despite the importance of the database, we're always scratching around for money. We're often within months of running out of it. All databases are like this because we fall between research and libraries and there's no good funding mechanism. And it meant it gave the team a boost about their value. Within the university, it gave us a big boost in terms of our profile, and that helps politically. Space, all of those sort of things within the university. And then it also, I think, significantly helped our grant applications where we have got funding. I think being able to say that we won the Hidden Ref competition, it provides a sort of external validation that we are doing something that's worth doing. So I think it's been terrifically helpful for some years.
That's amazing to hear. I think I'm glad we didn't talk about this in advance, so I can't hide my surprise, but that's such a lovely thing that this competition has had some real impacts on your work. That's really fantastic.
Yeah, it really has.
Amazing. Well, that's a really excellent lead into my final question then, which is, would you encourage people to participate in the Hidden Ref competition themselves?
Yeah, absolutely I would. So I think there are lots of benefits and they'll be different for all of us. The one that we all get is we think about our work, we think about the impact. It's one of these things of reminding ourselves why we do something, who cares whether we do it. And even if you've done all of that and decide not to enter, that's still a really valuable exercise for you and your team. If you decide to enter, putting together all of the sort of evidence of impact, that's also really helpful. It gives you something for an elevator pitch. It gives you something which you internalize and have in your head for evidence, which is really useful. And then, of course, if you happen to win, well, I've already explained the ways that helped us, and it continues to. I think it will for quite a long time, fortunately.
I think that's a really lovely note to end on. Thank you so much for sort of sharing your experience. I think it's great encouragement for people who want to take part in the competition.
Well, thank you and everybody connected with Hidden Ref for all that you do.
We really appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Well, it's certainly not the most important takeaway, but I think the fact that caffeine is a crucial part of their process for writing their submission is a thing we should point out, that caffeination drives a lot of research culture, and it certainly drives quite a lot of the Hidden Ref competition work, at least speaking for myself.
Oh, yeah. Wouldn't live without it.
Yeah, but I think sort of on a more substantive level, it was really exciting to hear that the win was evidence they were able to use to help with grant applications, to secure more funding. You can kind of hear my surprise, my really pleasant surprise in the interview, where I'm assuming, this database is super important. It's being used by, tens of thousands of researchers around the world. Surely our silly little competition isn't doing anything for them. And Jamie was like really quick to stop me and say, no, absolutely not. Like the kind of national recognition from the competition has been, at least in his mind, really crucial to applying and securing funding that makes it possible for them to keep doing their work. And that was, for me, just like such an incredible thing to hear, for them to be able to see a kind of one-to-one relationship where they did the competition, they really excitedly got a win, and they were able to use that to continue supporting the work that they're doing is just really phenomenal.
Yeah, and Jamie had mentioned that he was expecting that to benefit them for a while to come. So they obviously really value the fact that, like, yes, we're going to keep using this kind of evidence of our work in future funding. And he seems really confident that that's going to continue to help, which is lovely to hear. And I hope that becomes true as well.
I don't know about you guys, but what really struck me is that even someone like Jamie, who's a professor, admitted that he struggled to kind of find a good place for that database in terms of its refability and being admissible or not back in 2021, or maybe even earlier than that. So probably a little bit of folklore already existing back then, and what is acceptable, what's not acceptable and admissible, and that he found, the hidden ref competition as a way to amplify this particular amazing achievement of the research team.
Yeah, I remember thinking that actually when Jamie said it was admissible to ref, and I've kind of scribbled down oh, was it? Or is it just that he believes that was admissible to the ref because...
Or maybe the HEI, his institution at the time, or they told the team that maybe it wasn't the best thing to go for, which we're seeing all the time. And when we speak to people in NTO workshops.
Yeah, well, even our colleague, the chair of the Hidden Ref, Simon, who is the director of a research software group, when he initially looked into starting Hidden Ref, he looked at Ref and realised that software is an output that can be submitted to Ref. I had absolutely no idea, and he'd already worked with kind of research software engineers for years by this point. And yeah, it's clear there's plenty more people out there that just don't realise the kind of things that they can submit that aren't. That's what we're here for.
Yes, and I think that's that's one of the exciting things about this year's competition is we've reworked some of the criteria so that if you put together a submission for the Hidden Ref competition, we hope that will help you prepare to submit a similar thing to the ref itself. So that way, if you are thinking about that database or that piece of software or that exhibition that you've been working on, and you put the time into submitting it to the Hidden Ref competition, that effort will be rewarded as well when it comes time to put together some actual ref submissions, which I think is a really exciting change that we've made for this year. We've got one more interview I want to share with you guys. This one's with Lynne Bianchi, who's a professor at the University of Manchester. And she was one of our highly commended submissions, I think from 2024, for communicative outputs. And this was particularly for her team's work on bringing sciences into schools. And I think it'll be interesting to our conversation earlier about, where do these things fit? And even sometimes, very established professors aren't able to get their work placed neatly into a ref category. And Lynne talks a little bit about that when we speak. And she also, I think, reflects really nicely on the kind of process of putting together a hidden ref submission. So let's hear what she has to say. Thank you so much for joining us on What the Ref.
That's great. Thank you very much for having me.
So I wonder, before we jump in, if you could just introduce yourself to our audience, who you are, what you do, and what kind of research you work on.
Okay, yeah, no problem. So I'm Lynne Bianchi. I'm a Professor of Science and Engineering Education here at the University of Manchester. My research focuses on the way in which we improve the way that science and engineering is taught in mainstream settings for children of the age of 5 to 14. So a little bit different to a traditional Faculty of Science and Engineering research group, but very relevant to actually the Hidden Ref agenda.
Yeah, I mean, I can take some initial guesses as to why the Hidden Ref might have drawn you. But I was wondering if you could tell me sort of how did you initially find out about Hidden Ref and the Hidden Ref competition?
Great. Well, I think I tried to recall how I think it came through as an email. I don't remember seeing it anywhere else or someone talking to me about it. I think I just spotted it on an email. And that's how I originally found out it. And it just intrigued me, like I know all about the ref. I've been in higher education for the best part of 20 odd years. But the hidden ref just intrigued me. And so looking further into it, then it really spoke to the kind of work and the practice that I'm undertaking here at the university.
Oh, fantastic. I think that will make my colleague Lyndsey very happy. I know she spends quite a lot of time sending emails out into the void, and it's really satisfying to hear that sometimes they get picked up and really excellent things come from them. So you were sort of interested, and I was wondering if you could tell me a little bit more. It sounds like your research kind of sits on the edges of a couple of different spaces, science and engineering, but also education. Does that have something to do with why you decided to submit your work to the competition?
Yeah, it absolutely is. And you've described it really, really well there. We do sit on the fringes. It's a fundamental area of research if we're going to develop a pipeline of scientists and engineers for the future. So in terms of what it's doing, it's very warranted. When I joined the University of Manchester here in 2014, I came into the Faculty of Science and Engineering, and it's been absolutely tremendous to work in this space. Our education group, however, sits in a different faculty. So whenever we went down the road of looking at ref impact case studies, it always felt like we weren't quite returnable enough to one of the groups here because I'm basically competing against very highly esteemed engineering disciplines and scientific disciplines. And so my education side, the pedagogy side, and the fact that we're working with pre-university students, etc., and teachers, I suppose when we're competing on who people put in, we weren't quite in that zone. However, everyone appreciates and values what we do. So this is why, we were on the periphery. That this is the hidden bit that makes everything else happen. So we'll often align to research groups and research partners to support them with disseminating public engagement, outreach, schools engagement. But obviously they're leading their research field. So it's their research field which will go through to the typical ref. And often ours will be a comment or a commentary within that. But as a thing of our own, we weren't and probably never really will be able to stand on our own 2 feet enough to be able to go forward for a typical ref.
Yeah. So then when you were thinking about what to submit to the competition, sort of what did you end up deciding to put in as a submission?
Okay, so we put in a couple of things, in fact, one which was a winner and one which was sort of a follow-up, a highly commended kind of thing. The biggest one that we put in was the Great Science Share for Schools. So this is a national campaign that I started here over 10 years ago now, which does profile real-world research. It's very close to practice with teachers, and we've made quite a significant inroads in terms of public engagement and schools engagement with real-world research, and that's across various disciplines of research as well. So we chose that. It is mainly led by a professional services team here in the faculty, and again that spoke to REF really, really beautifully, because REF is very embracing of the people who make research work, and so that really spoke to them as well. It gave them a real sense of appreciation, visibility, that kind of thing. And so, we chose to lead with that as our main campaign, which is sort of an umbrella into which lots of different pieces of academic research also fed.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds fantastic. And as you say, hits all of these points that we're excited about in the Hidden Ref campaign, recognizing people who don't normally get recognized, talking about work that has impact but might not otherwise fit. I can definitely see how that scored really well with our competition judges. And you talked a little bit about how nice it was for the team who's involved in that to get recognized. I'm just wondering, were there any other impacts that you saw from either taking part in the competition or from the win that you guys got?
Sure. And again, I think this is a really important thing to say about doing anything in terms of nominating groups for awards. Sometimes it can, you can sit back, and I know early in my career I think, oh gosh, I'm never going to do that. You don't put yourself forward. That's a very arrogant thing to do. But in actual fact, what submitting for something like Hidden Ref does is enable you to pull the team together to really think about, are we articulating our impact well enough? Have we got metrics that really speak to where we're making a difference? Have we got consistent data? Have we got data that really tells the story that we, in our hearts, know is happening? And so I use these types of things to really rally the team together to be quite reflective on the process that we're using for evaluation, and whether we can really stand up against a judging group, really, to say, yes, this is what we do and this is the impact it's having. And that as a process for internal evaluation within the team is really, really healthy. It allows you to spot your strengths, but it also allows you to spot some of the gaps, and where, a few more focus groups or a survey or something extra that will give you that little extra insight into where we're making a difference or where we can do better can really be plugged. So yes, it's a good thing to do from a team acknowledgement and recognition, but it's a really healthy thing to do in terms of where next as a team, where next with a project. To make sure that we are actually as value for money, you might say, as possible in everything that we do. So yes, visibility absolutely gave us, because all of a sudden we could talk about an award, and one which was recognised by other universities, which is always well appreciated. But internally, that process of discussion, and what are we doing? What are we doing it as we think we're doing it? What have we got to be able to prove to other parties is a really healthy thing to do within the team too.
Yeah, that's such a fantastic way of putting it, because I think with research assessment, there's often this focus on like the scores, and particularly with REF, everyone's kind of wanting those high scores. But to really hear that the process has been reflective for your team and that you guys were able to get that kind of the value from doing it, regardless of what the actual results are, is really fantastic to hear. So I think you've touched on so many really excellent points as to why people might want to participate in the Hidden Ref competition. So I guess I just wanted to give you a little bit of space here at the end. Is there sort of anything else you would say to someone who's maybe thinking about participating, thinking about submitting, but isn't quite sure, what you might say to encourage them to do it?
Yeah. I mean, I'd just say put your hat in the ring. If this is for you, if you feel, oh, maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't, or I would just think about what you're going to get out of it. The accolade at the end, great. But, it's like what your parents probably used to always say to you, you're better in the race than not in the race. Better, it's all about the taking part. And to a large extent, that is true. It is all about the taking part. When you hear, I know we were brought together on like a celebration, a sort of an announcement kind of thing, and it was a couple of hours on a Zoom. But you were hearing some great work in other universities as well, which otherwise we wouldn't have found out about. It's lovely to get it, and you're pained when you don't, because you put effort in, and you do want to get it. That kind of thing depends how competitive you are. But if you can sense that there is actually a value in connecting with other groups, other university partners who might be sort of those close to practice researchers or fringe researchers. And then you can sort of sense, well, actually, there's a community of people like us. That might be why you want to do this more than the badge. Or you might be after the badge, and that comes out as a second win. But participating, I think, when there's things like this out there, why not? To me, why not? Why wouldn't you do it? It is a bit more effort, but if you can build it into the processes that you are already doing and make it part of, not an extra, but a fundamental part of how you work, then you'll be doing these things anyway, and then putting the submission in really isn't that much more.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. I feel like we've kind of slipped you our talking points in advance. Like you've hit all of our big boxes around reflection, around finding community, around the value and kind of elevating the unseen people in the research process. So I think those all sound like really phenomenal reasons to participate. I'm really glad to hear that that's been your experience in the competition.
Certainly.
Well, thank you so much, Lynn, for taking the time to chat with us today. It's been great to hear about your experience, and hopefully you'll have encouraged a few more people to submit to this year's Hidden Ref competition.
Yeah, hope so too. Look forward to hearing all about them.
I promise we didn't slip her those answers in advance, but I really love that she kind of hit all of these main points that we've been trying to emphasize when we go out and talk to people about the competition, like what a great opportunity it is for recognition, an opportunity to reflect on your own work and figure out how to articulate it, and then as evidence to go back to your institution and say, this is valuable work that we're doing. We've been recognized for that nationally. How can we use that to improve the work we're doing going forward? So I really appreciated that. And I also love that she shouts out your emails, Lyndsey, that she's like, I got an email and I did something about it, which I feel like is kind of the dream for us. We send those out and we hope that people actually read them. So it's nice to have met at least one person who has.
Absolutely, yeah. It's good to have feedback on how people heard from things. We obviously spoke just a minute ago about Jamie kind of assuming that his data set was admissible to the ref, and Lynn had pointed out that their outputs never seem to be returnable enough due to competing with other research outputs. And I do wonder whether that is due to that risk aversion between kind of NTOs or not traditionally submitted outputs compared to the traditional publication outputs that we see.
Yeah, I noted that as well. And it made me feel quite sad because, such a beautiful national level campaign that's obviously made significant inroads into bringing the topic into schools, and they still feel that it's not exactly refable. It's not, strong enough to stand on their own feet, as she put it. Just made me feel a bit sad. And I think that there's something around curriculum, pedagogy, and teaching that maybe it's been historically seen as less important than and maybe compared to research as not exactly proper research for some reason. So I hope that the competition is debunking those myths, and the additional category is also debunking that myth in the hidden competition. But I really hope that all those conversations that we're having and the applications that we're receiving are going to create, a kind of awareness raising in the actual ref exercise for people to start recognizing, believing in those outputs and recognizing them, and that they will be assessed fairly, and because they are credible and they are incredibly important pieces of work.
Yeah. So one of the reasons I'm really hoping the numbers in the submissions that we get to the competition this year are so large and chaotic is so that we then really have a number of so we have a new competition category we've just opened for scholarship of teaching and learning / pedagogical research. And we've already seen a bit of traction with that kind of work and receiving outputs. And I'm really hoping that we just get such a high number of outputs to specific categories or overall that we then have that as kind of evidence and proof that look at all this great work that's been done in that area that higher education institutes aren't then choosing to submit, and just make it so obvious. Here you go.
That's the plan.
Yeah. So that's one of the reasons I'm hoping it just blows up. So keep sending the submissions in and making my work kind of hard but exciting.
Yes, it's nice to hear you asking for more work. I feel like that's a rare experience. So the fact that you're excited to have more work from this is probably a good sign that the competition is a thing worth doing. I also loved that she was excited about the award ceremony, getting to hear about other people's work, but also just the fact that it's not just you send stuff into the void and we email you back a few months later and say yay, you won. There's awards, there's a ceremony. We really want to make sure that this is a celebration of research just as much as it's a competition. So I don't know if we've got details yet about the award ceremony. I don't know if we can, start teasing that a little bit, but there is an award ceremony, is there not, Lyndsey?
There is an award ceremony, and it is set for Friday, 27th of November in the afternoon. So yes, very excited for that. But I actually noted the same thing from Lynn saying that, because I hadn't anticipated that being something that other people liked. But of course, it's something I like, is to go along and hear about other work that you otherwise wouldn't have heard about. So I'm hoping that people are also finding this fact through the things that we're sharing right now on social media and other ways about past entries the last few months.
And another thing that unites both Jamie and Lynn's contributions is the fact that it's just the practice of submitting something that is well reasoned, is well rationalized, and ironing out your elevator pitch and making sure that it's ready to be submitted to the competition or elsewhere into your grant application or into the actual ref. So it's just worth it for the practice of doing it.
Yeah, actually I mentioned that to Simon just this morning, that two people that we spoke to both came up with that same understanding, that actually that was really helpful, just taking the time to write the submission, whether they were going to put it into something that they could win or not, or whether it was a win. It was the can't find the word, the process of doing that was actually worth it. It's really nice to hear.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we've now heard from a few people who are really excited about the competition. They shared, some of those really concrete outputs. Jamie talking about funding, Lynne getting to reflect with her team on the value of the work they're doing and how they can talk about it. Jenni getting to share the kind of value of the recognition, again, for her and her team. So I don't know. It feels like this is a thing worth doing. And Lyndsey, if someone else has just listened to the episode and they're excited and they want to submit something to the competition, how do they do that?
So our website obviously has all the information over there. Excitedly, if you do want to hear from more people telling you about the impact it's had on them, or kind of tell you the reasons why they think that you should apply, head to our website. We've got more testimonials. We have information about how to submit your entry and information about all of those different categories as well. So head to hidden-ref.org.
Excellent. Very impressed. I always forget the dash in the middle. So well done for remembering it.
I say it way too often. And I think that leads me to thanking everyone for joining us on this episode of What the Ref. If you have any ideas for the podcast itself, you can write to us at wtref@hidden-ref.org. Thank you both for spending time here talking to us, and thank you all for listening, and see you next time.